It was a case that stunned the nation.
She claimed that the man then picked her up and she screamed. She stated he then made her go over a fence. She claims he then forced her into a car, and the next thing she remembers is being in the trailer of an 18-wheeler. There was no kidnapping on Thursday, July 13th, 2023. My client did not see a baby on the side of the road.
Now the Alabama woman who was at the center of the kidnapping hoax is speaking out after more than a year.
Anytime you hear of an individual claiming they were abducted, and then finding out later that this was simply false, is troubling.
Carlee Russell was 25 years old when she called 911 and then spoke to a family member saying she saw a young child walking on the side of an interstate in Hoover, Alabama, just outside of Birmingham. She told her sister-in-law she was pulling over to check on the child. With the phone call still remaining open, she never returned to the phone, but her sister-in-law heard a scream before the phone went silent. Officers would arrive to the location where she placed the call, and that's where they would discover Carlee's red Mercedes with the engine running along the interstate. However, police were unable to locate Carlee or the child in the area. The car door to Carlee's car was found open, with some clues left behind, including Carlee's cell phone. Officers noted during their investigation no children had been reported missing in the area. Her disappearance sparked a frantic search effort to locate the missing nursing student, and police even offered a $25,000 reward. But then a remarkable development in the case. Carlee returned home on foot nearly 49 hours after making the 911 call. While her return would be a huge relief for Carlee's family and loved ones, investigators quickly began to discover something wasn't right, as they would say they were unable to verify most of her story and initial statement. During a press conference 4 days after her return home, Hoover Police Chief Nick Durzis announced on the day Carlee made the 911 call she left work shortly before 8:30 p.m. But surveillance footage would reveal to investigators she stashed some interesting items in her car prior to her disappearance.
Surveillance video from her place of employment shows Carlee concealed a dark-colored bathrobe, a roll of toilet paper, and other items belonging to the business prior to her departure. She ordered food from Tzatziki's at the Colonnade and traveled there. She then traveled to Target on 280, where she purchased some granola bars and Cheez-Its. From there, she remained in the parking lot at that shopping center until 9:21 p.m. when she drove to I-459. Carlee communicated on her cell phone with individuals known to her while on her path of travel, up to the point of calling 911 at 9:34 p.m.
But police would find that those items she purchased were not found in her car when police arrived at the scene.
Hoover police officers arrived on the scene within 5 minutes of being dispatched, and several other officers arrived shortly. They located Carlee's wig and cell phone in the grass near the vehicle. Her purse was located in the front seat of her vehicle with her Apple Watch in the purse. The food she ordered for Tzatziki's was also in the car. The items she purchased from Target, as well as the items taken from her place of employment, were not in the vehicle, nor were they located anywhere around the scene.
Police Chief Nick Durzis would go on to explain when Carlee returned home on July 15th, surveillance video showed Carlee walking down the sidewalk alone to get to her house. When they got a statement from her after her return, Carlee told investigators at the time she spotted the child walking down the side of the highway. Then a man came out of the trees and mumbled he was going to check on the baby.
She claimed that the man then picked her up and she screamed. She stated he then made her go over a fence. She claims he then forced her into a car, and the next thing she remembers is being in the trailer of an 18-wheeler. She stated that the male was with a female. However, she never saw the female, only hearing her voice. She also told detectives she could hear a baby crying. She told detectives the male had orange hair with a big bald spot on the back. She said she was able to escape the 18-wheeler and fled on foot, only to be captured again and then was put in a car. She claimed she was then blindfolded but was not tied up because the captor said they did not want to leave impressions on her wrists. She said that they took her into a house and made her get undressed. She believes they took pictures of her, but she does not remember them having any physical or sexual contact. She stated the next day she woke up and was fed cheese crackers by the female. She said the woman also played with her hair, but could not remember anything else. At some point, she was put back in a vehicle she claims was able to escape while it was in the West Hoover area. She told detectives she ran through lots of woods until she came out near her residence. During this interview, detectives noted that Carlee had a small injury to her lip, and she claimed that her head was hurting. She also had a tear in her shirt. Detectives also noted that she had $107 cash in her right sock.
After her return, investigators found that Carlee made suspicious searches on the web prior to her disappearance, including do you have to pay for an Amber Alert and how to take money from a register without being caught.
On July 13th at 2:13 a.m., the day of her disappearance, the term Birmingham bus station was searched. On July 13th, 2:35 a.m., a search for a one-way bus ticket from Birmingham to Nashville was conducted with a departure date of July 13th. On July 13th at 12:10 p.m., a search for the movie Taken, a film about abduction, was conducted. There were two searches related to Amber Alerts on a computer at Carlee's place of employment, including one regarding the maximum age of an Amber Alert.
Although police were able to get an initial statement from Carlee, they tried for a second time. However, they weren't granted a second interview, prompting many questions at the time to be left unanswered. That is until less than a week later, when police received a statement sent by Carlee's attorney which would reveal the entire so-called kidnapping was actually a hoax.
My client has given me permission to make the following statement on her behalf. There was no kidnapping on Thursday, July 13th, 2023. My client did not see a baby on the side of the road. My client did not leave the Hoover area when she was identified as a missing person. My client did not have any help in this incident, but this was a single act done by herself. My client was not with anyone or any hotel with anyone during the time she was missing. My client apologizes for her actions to this community, the volunteers who were searching for her, to the Hoover Police Department and other agencies, as well as to her friends and family. We ask for your prayers for Carlee as she addresses her issues and attempts to move forward, understanding that she made a mistake in this matter. Carlee, again, ask for your forgiveness and prayers.
Anytime you hear of an individual claiming they were abducted, and then finding out later that this was simply false, is troubling. And we've heard about this several times over the past several years. It does make me think, particularly in this case, that there may have been some type of mental health issues in the background that may have contributed to this woman doing what she did in terms of making these false claims.
Carlee Russell was just 25 years old at the time she almost pulled off the kidnapping hoax. But Law&Crime legal analyst Julie Rendelman explains there might have been underlying issues Carlee was dealing with at the time.
So, I think on top of what you're talking about, remember, she also was looking up online, Google searches about Amber Alerts. So this was someone that really, in a sense, was preparing to commit this hoax. And so the age is less relevant to me than the planning of it. It really does go back to what goes through someone's mind when they commit this type of crime. Is it someone that's begging for attention? Is it someone that has some kind of separation from reality? Because it really did seem to take quite an effort on her end to commit the crime that she did.
It's still unclear to this day where Carlee was during her missing 49 hours. But Carlee herself would reveal more into her mindset nearly a year later, as she spoke out for the first time since the kidnapping hoax in a post to social media. As she celebrated her 27th birthday, she wrote, "I wasn't going to make a birthday post, but I would be remiss not to publicly acknowledge the goodness God has shown to me. He not only allowed me to see another year, but he changed the trajectory of my life from the negative place I was in this time last year. To those who have been there for me, your kindness and support have meant the world to me. Whether it was a text, call, direct message on social media, post, prayer, thoughtful gift, or words of encouragement, nothing was too little, and each helped me to fight to live another day. Thank you sincerely for helping me find the light in the darkest of moments." She would end the post by saying, "The work is not finished yet, but as I step into this next year of my life, I am filled with hope and optimism toward continuing to overcome challenges, cherishing those who cherish me, and embracing the future and God's plan for my life with an open heart and mind. Happy 27th birthday to me."
I mean, some might argue that it would have been nice to hear "I'm sorry," because that's something that law enforcement family and then those watching this and worried about her would have wanted to hear. At the same time, I think it's an acknowledgement that at the time that she committed this crime, she was not in a good place mentally. It could be an indication, sometimes without going further, without knowing more, that she could have been potentially in a suicidal state at that time, not in her right mind. Grateful to God that she kind of was able to get through it. And I'll be honest, she also may be very grateful that she avoided jail time, because remember, this was a case where she was potentially going to jail for at least a year, and she ended up getting probation. So I think she may be very thankful that she is able to move on with her life.
In March of this year, Carlee Russell was able to avoid jail time after pleading guilty to 2 misdemeanor counts of filing a false police report. As part of her punishment, she was ordered to pay back restitution and must continue mental health counseling as part of her probation. As a former prosecutor herself, Rindleman says she's not surprised Carlee pleaded guilty.
We talk about these cases, especially these false abduction cases. And the thing that's troubling, which I'm sure everyone recognizes, is, remember, not only to the family and friends, but law enforcement now is spending all of their resources on looking for someone that's not missing. They're spending all their resources on finding the abductors when there are no abductors. And so it's incredibly troubling when resources are taken or are brought to that emergency when there's so many other emergencies. With that said, I think in this specific case, the fact that part of her sentence ended up being not just community service, but mental health treatment, it again indicates that this was not someone that was of her right mind at the time she was committing this crime. And so jail is not always the alternative to every single case. And sometimes there is mitigation that makes another form of punishment more appropriate.
During Carlee's sentencing, she acknowledged she made a huge mistake, saying in part she was fighting through emotional issues and stress. She also said she was extremely remorseful for the panic, fear, and various range of negative emotions that were experienced across the nation, and specifically acknowledged and took accountability for the pain and embarrassment she caused to her family, church, friends, and community who were directly involved in the search efforts for her. While Carlee Russell's kidnapping hoax sparked fury and even a few jokes on the internet, Rindleman says the former nursing student still has a path forward.
I do hope so. I mean, sometimes you can cry wolf a couple times. This time she cried wolf once, and that was too much. But she is, as you said, she's quite young. It seems like, she's attempting to make up for what she has done. And I do think that we aren't defined by that one moment in time where we make a mistake, however huge it is. And so she'll really have to prove herself to not just her family, but in a sense to her community.
In March of this year, an Alabama judge ordered Carlee Russell pay nearly $18,000 in restitution. She was also sentenced to 12 months of probation, community service, and must continue mental health counseling as a part of her probation. Reporting for Law and Crime, I'm Elizabeth Milner.